Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs postgame show podcast. The Cubs with a series win over the Tigers. They pound Detroit at Wrigley Field in the series finale to take the rubber game and the series, which, of course, is important to those of you who still have hope, like our Cody Delmendo. Luke Stuckmeyer and Cody Delmendo with you on a Sunnyside Summer Thursday. This is the CHGO Cubs podcast. Visit sunnyside.ship. Shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter that promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day only for 21 and older or Illinois medical card holders. Cubs entered with a 2.6% chance. According to Fangraphs, of making the postseason. So I'm saying
if there's anything that people have left for this team in 2024, it's just to come and tune into Luke just subtly. I'm just very, very so slightly making fun of me and the fact that I have some delusional hope. All right.
No,
if that's why everyone should come and tune in, just so you can hear it every single day until I wave the white flag.
What was the percentage on Derrick Rose being drafted by the Bulls? Was it 1.7?
It was like 1.7, 1.9, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so this is better. This is like twice as good as that.
Yeah, 2.6% chance.
I don't math. Is that twice as good? It's
I don't math. I mean, it might as well be twice as much.
It's better. Hey, this was at the very least. This was a fun game. It was a nice sunny day at Wrigley Field. Series finale. Javier Baez playing for the other team, and Miguel Amaya goes out. Pounds a grand slam to give Justin Steele, your ace, a 4-0 lead. First things first, I know we keep saying talking about next year, like they need a slugger, they need this, they need another starter, they need a closer. And one of the top things has always been everybody saying they need a catcher. Catcher's been a disaster this season. You have to give Miguel Amaya some credit. He's played better this last month plus. And it's at least some hope that he can turn this around and be that guy next year, even if he's just the backup guy. Either way, you need him to improve from what he's done this year.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give him credit, and I think you got to give Dustin Kelly some credit. Yeah, I see a lot of people in the chat. Some people on social media ask me this, like, do the Cubs need to once again fire the hitting coach? Like, no, I don't think they should fire the hitting coach, because we all know if they did, it's just like a fall guy. And I get the manager being a fall guy sometimes, like David Ross was, you could argue, last year. But Dustin Kelly, I feel like, has helped guys get better. Now, there's obviously on a consistent basis, there's obviously some problems with this team offensively, but I think it's more about how the roster is constructed more so than the hitting coach. But ever since they changed Amaya's stance, and that he doesn't have that what do you call it, the leg thing,
leg lift, or the toe
tap?
Leg
lift, he ever since he's basically kind of removed that, he's kind of taken off offensively. And it's not like he's turned into the greatest hitting catcher in the league doing that, but you're getting league average offense from him at catcher. And I actually looked the numbers up myself after he hit the homer. Now, at this point, when I looked that up, the Cubs, or Amaya, he hadn't. This doesn't include today's game where he had 3 hits, including like 5 RBIs. But since July 1st, going into today, he was hitting .263 with a .309 on base percentage and a .434 slug, good for a 108 WRC plus. And his K rate was down to 14.3% as well. And I know, I felt like in the first 3 months of the season, when he was striking out a lot, that's what really frustrated fans. You just felt like his at-bats just were not competitive at all. And I feel like he's giving you league average play at catcher, and he's still young. And I still don't know if he can be like your number one catcher, your 1A catcher, right? But I feel like you still can feel pretty good about going into next year with him. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't try and, I still don't know about Bethancourt, even though I gave him all kinds of I gave him all kinds of love last night because he hit the homer. And he's played well since coming to the Cubs. But, as we've seen with veteran catchers, it's like, they go through those hot streaks and then sometimes they fall off the planet like Yan Gomes did this year. So it's really depending on how the Cubs view Ballesteros in terms of his catching and when they think he could be major league ready. He's 20 years old and getting to AAA at 20 years old is incredibly impressive, and not every minor leaguer does that. But obviously I think the Cubs still view him very highly for the bat. It's just more about will he be able to catch. But, Amaya is at the very least, Amaya is saving himself from being non-tendered this offseason. I think he'll be here next year as long as he has a good September as well. And again, it's not like he's playing out of his mind. He's giving you honestly what I basically hoped for, which was just a league average hitter. Still think there might need to be some improvement on the defense and throwing some guys out, which he has thrown some guys out in recent games, but you need more consistency from the defensive side, I think. But if he can at least give you league average offense, you can live with that. You can be happy with that.
I mean, we've been looking for progress out of guys. It's not always, as Theo used to say, it's not always linear, right? Sometimes it's been a real bad stretch from the beginning of the season here for Miguel Amaya. We had high expectations, 3 for 4 today, the grand slam, almost a double later in the game. Ryan had similar numbers to what you were talking about that he had tweeted out. Ryan Herrera, who hopefully will be joining us before the end of the show here. He's at beautiful historic Wrigley Field. Ryan's numbers are since July 7th, and that has the K rate even down to 12.9% in that stretch. The 4 home runs, batting .299 with an .848 OPS. Listen, that's an even smaller sample size. You can make the numbers say whatever you want. The bottom line is he's been better. There's been definitely some progress and reason to have hope. When you scan out and look at a guy's career, that's hopefully just a blip in it, but
yeah,
there's also been significant struggles this year. So I'm not going to put too much into it. It's just positive to look at it right now and say, no question, he's been better. And like you said, you're not looking at having to find 2 catchers, I don't think, next year. I think you're definitely counting on him making that more progress, continuing what he's been doing. And then the other side of today's game was just offense. I mean, how often do they score 10 runs in a game?
Right. Well,
with Steele on the mound.
Yeah. James in the chat says Amaya 73 WRC plus. Am I reading that wrong? Is that league average? I was saying since July 1st.
Right. Yeah.
Since July 1st,
beginning of July.
Since July 1st, he's been above league average hitter since July 1st, and it's almost September. So we're talking about a good 2-month sample size. And then Godfather says, where was he in April, May, and June, July? Again, he's young. It's not like he's 30 years old and you're ready to move on. Like, do you want to move on from a guy who's young like this and then watch him go develop with another team like we've seen other guys do that before? I'm not saying that he's going to be an all-star catcher or anything like that. I'm saying that there's reason to at least tender him a contract for next year. And that doesn't even include me saying that he should, get majority of the starts. I still think that there needs to be some sort of transaction related to a catcher this offseason. But if Amaya can hit like he has been the last 2 months, basically, and he's your backup or your 1B, whatever you want to call it, that's valuable. And I think that bodes well. So, I understand, like, the first 3 months of the season were terrible. And I just looked it up right now, from the beginning of the season to the end of June. 189 batting average, 253 on base, a 260 slug with a 47 WRC plus, and that's in 187 plate appearances. 187 plate appearances. That is atrocious. That is like awful, right? And we ourselves sat on our show and said that we probably should have thought more about catcher in the offseason. Like, we admitted that maybe we just kind of assumed that catcher would be fine. All I'm saying is, and I only say it because he's young, is just because we've seen other guys kind of figure it out after however many plate appearances or whatever. But if he can just be a league average bat, which he has the last 2 months, like, that to me, that's enough to tender him a contract this offseason.
Yeah, but what you're saying and what Godfather's saying are are correct. A wise person once said you have to take it all into account, right? You don't.
Yeah,
You don't
and
just,
I'm not saying that I'm not.
Right, yeah. We're not forgetting the first half of the season. We're not overvaluing 2 months later in the season. We're putting it all together and saying he hasn't been a perfect player this year. He didn't take the step that we wanted him to take, which was take over the catching from Yan Gomes. He only took over the catching from Yan Gomes because Yan Gomes somehow was even worse. Yeah. And we didn't think we were foolish to not realize that at his age, there was going to be even a bigger drop off coming. And of course, then it did. And Amaya wasn't there. So I'm not even against going out and signing or trading for a legit starting catcher if that's what they decide to do this offseason. I'm totally okay with that. And going into it with Amaya as your backup. I'm totally fine with that. I'm just saying that the last 2 months have given me hope that there is at least a path for him being a helpful part of the picture next year.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, right. Like in James in the chat again, bringing him up because he's always here, but he brings up Logan O'Hoppe, who was reported that the Cubs did try to trade for him at the trade deadline. And he's 24. And I think that there's a lot of upside with someone like him if they were to make a trade for him. And he would be your everyday catcher, I think, more so than Amaya if they were to somehow pull that off this offseason. I think the question with that for me is like, do the Angels want to make that trade? I'm not sure because it sounded like the Cubs really tried to do it. Yeah. And the Angels just didn't want to do it.
Well, they wanted a lot.
Right. Understandably. They tried, according to what we heard, Triantos was on the board for them. Right. So that's a top 100 prospect that the Cubs were trying to give away for, a 24-year-old catcher, with a lot of years of control. So they clearly tried. And, whatever. Again, it goes back to what I said about Ballesteros and how they view him as a catcher, that he's been catching a lot in Iowa. I think they definitely view the bat better than his defense. But he's 20 years old, and I'm curious to how many at bats they want him to get in Iowa.
He's had some struggles there too, Cody. Yeah. Right? Like he hasn't been perfect at the plate in Iowa.
And as we've seen in general, though, too, Luke, like at the beginning of the year, did you expect that Shaw was going to spend as much time in Double-A as he had, despite the fact that he was killing it in Double-A as long as he did? Same thing with Triantos in a way. I think the best development on the farm this year in some ways might be Ballesteros. Like I knew who he was, and I knew he was, he could potentially enter the top 100, but man, to go from, to start the year in Double-A and just kill it the way he did and get all the way to Triple-A at the age that he's at was unreal to me. I also thought Casey would, maybe they might be a little bit more aggressive with him, especially when the offense was struggling early in the year, and they still didn't do it. So the way that I view if there's anything that this season has taught me, is that the Cubs are going to play it very slow on the developmental side with a lot of these guys. And whether you want to be happy with that or not, the answer to anyone's criticism of it will come once those guys are promoted, and if they have success or not, you know what I mean? And if the team has success. So based off how they've been doing things the last couple of years in terms of development with their prospects, they're not in any rush. So I think Amaya if he continues to play like he has through the end of the year, he's going to earn himself a tenured contract and at least be the backup for next year. And I think that's valuable considering how young he is.
All right, we'll talk Justin Steele and what's going on with Isaac Paredes in just a second. But first, we want to tell you about something you can count on all the time. Shop Ray Chevrolet and secure the right new Chevy and price for you. That's because their new car clearance event is going on all month long, and you can shop their huge selection of new Chevy models now at new low prices. Visit our partner this August at their location on Route 12 in Fox Lake or at raychevrolet.com. It's one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest. You're always able to shop one of Chicagoland area's largest Chevy inventories. Right now, get 0% financing, make 0 payments until 2025, put $0 down, and find 0 hidden fees on all new Chevrolet models. Or cruise into August your own way and shop over 125 of their vehicles that are currently priced under $20,000. And if you've heard of Ray Chevrolet, then you've also heard of Ray's Price Promise. Their guarantee to make your next vehicle more affordable than ever with no price changing. That's obviously very, very big. No add-ons, no hidden fees ever. That means the incredible prices we're talking about now, you can expect to see the very same when you shop Ray Chevy in-store or online. Shop the new car clearance event all month long by visiting Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive. Hey guys, perfect sunny weather today. Some beers can say they're brewed for baseball, but only Blue Moon is brewed by baseball. Beer and baseball just go together, and no beer goes better than the one that was literally born in a ballpark. Blue Moon was created at Coors Field in Denver, Colorado. It's the natural choice all season long, summertime shy. This is a top 10 day right here, and it's going to get hot the rest of the week. So give me a Blue Moon to cool off with a nice slice of orange. Nothing beats watching baseball, like lounging by the pool. Maybe that's good too, or hanging out at a lake, just in the backyard with a nice cold Blue Moon. Blue Moon was brewed by baseball to give you a dose of nostalgia and get you excited for the season. A beer this good only comes around once in a Blue Moon, but you can enjoy it all summer long. Bring the ballpark to you with Blue Moon Belgian-style wheat ale. One of a kind every time. Get Blue Moon delivered by visiting get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO to see your delivery options. That's get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO. Blue Moon, made brighter, celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Justin Steele, Cody, when you need, for those of us that are hanging out hope, the hopers and believers, as I like to call them, when you need to win a series against the Tigers, when you need to win 5 out of 6 with the Marlins coming up next, you better count on Justin Steele.
Yeah.
I know there are people out there, for whatever reason, that still don't believe that he is a bona fide ace. They will say, he's a nice number 2 on a really good team. Look again. 10 strikeouts today, 4 hits. Sure, he gave up the 2-run homer, but this is the guy you want pitching in game 1 of a postseason appearance. Like, I have nothing but good things to say about Justin Steele the last 2 years, and I just think that will continue. I know it was floated, the idea of trading Steele before the deadline for the proverbial the haul. Everybody likes to talk about the haul. Like, that's the dumbest phrase that's been said in sports in the last 2-3 years. Everybody wants to talk about the haul you could get for this and the haul you could get for that guy. Listen, what you have is an ace on your pitching staff. And yes, he's going to be going into his 30s. He's going to be a little bit older. He's absolutely an ace, and you don't let go of guys like that right now. Not when you think you're on the verge of being a playoff team, even if it's not this year. It's not the right time to reload and deal Justin Steele. So I'm glad he's here. I'm glad they still had that guy, and he's somebody you can count on every 5 days. So
yeah,
this was another great performance by him.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably his best performance in the second half of the season. Yeah. I'd say since the All-Star break, his command had kind of struggled a little bit. He had walked way too many guys. The first couple starts after the All-Star break, not great. Lost some games that they absolutely needed to win if, this percentage points of making the playoffs were going to be higher. So I won't say he's been, as good as last year this year. I think last year was definitely, he was definitely worthy of the Cy Young, conversation. This year on, the injury at the beginning of the year didn't help him, but overall, like, I agree with you. Like, he's been great. And whether you want to call him an ace or not, like, you develop this guy, and he's not expensive, and he's great. Like, tons of teams would love to have him on their team, whether he's your number 1 or not. If this guy, at the very least, he's a number 2 on your team, right? So that's the point. That's why I said that you got to keep this guy. And this is why I've said that Corbin Burns should be a guy they should be considering this offseason, because if you have a guy like Steele who's cheap, and you have a guy like Shota Imanaga who you're basically not paying a ton either, if you get a guy like Corbin Burns who has proven to be a bona fide ace over the years, to go with those 3, like, that's a great top 3 of your rotation. I know this team needs offense, and they need to restructure the offense and all this, and I completely agree with it. But I'm also saying, like, going in with the same pitching staff in 2025 and hoping that Cade Horton and Ben Brown and Jordan Wicks not only stay healthy, but provide a big spark to take the pitching staff to a new level. I think that's irresponsible, and it's very small market. So we talk about, Juan Soto and the offense and stuff. I in general agree with most of it, but at the same time, this pitching staff is as good as it's been. It can be even better. And while you're not paying Justin Steele anything of significance, you have to find a way to start winning while you have him at that price. And so, yeah, I mean, I agree, man. Like, he's been so fun to watch in terms of development. We used to dream of times like this with Cubs pitching. It's such a shame that this team is where it's at, 2 games under 500 almost into September, and there not being a lot of positivity in terms of the on-field product for the entire team in general. But Steele has been as good as they could have hoped again this year. It sucks that he got hurt on opening day, but he's come back and he's, for the most part, helped them win. He's done his part. He can only go out there and pitch the 6 or 7 innings. He can't be the reason that they don't score runs or they don't close out the game in the 9th inning. He has done his job. So, yeah, he is the ace of this staff. I know fans love Shota, and I love Shota too. I just got the t-shirt from CHGO Locker. You should go get it. But Steele is definitely the guy that I would send out there if this team somehow made the playoffs. He would be my game 1 starter. He's got them in like that bulldog mentality. Gives you, it feels like more often than not, on days the Cubs need to win, and today was a day that the Cubs needed to win, he went out there and struck out 10, didn't walk any, and he didn't like kind of, this easily could have been a game where he struggled, or maybe didn't take the Tigers nearly as serious enough just because they're the Tigers and their offense against left-handed pitching this year has been awful. But no, he just played to what they've been all season against left-handed pitching, which is bad. So I give him a ton of credit for, just doing everything that he can control. I think that's at the very least, I think that's what every fan should be able to do. He's been awesome, man.
I do like the idea of Corbin Burns, Justin Steele, Shota Imanaga, Tyone, and pick your 5th starter and move the other guys to the bullpen. I don't hate that idea. You do need to score runs, but if you're telling me Soto is definitely not coming, and no, Becky, they won't be able to trade Wisdom to the Yankees for Soto, but I would love to see it. It's
should have traded Mark Leiter Jr.
It's too late for that, and now they just need to spend the big money.
Yeah.
But hopefully the Ricketts family will watch the Bears this season and they have some success and they say, well, wait a minute, look how excited fans get. We forgot what 2016 was like. We forgot what 2017 was like. Look how excited the fans get. There's no amount of money we can spend that wouldn't be worth it. Let's go do it. You know what? Let's go get Burns and Soto and blow away the National League next year. I don't know if you'd blow away the National League, but it'd put you in a conversation with teams like the Dodgers and Braves. One of the two might.
Right.
Whether it's the Burns route and then make minor adjustments, but I think the offense might need more than that.
For sure. I'm not saying that this offense doesn't need improvement. Yeah. I've been complaining about the offense all season. And if you go back and listen to old audio, I said coming into the year that the offense was my biggest question when a lot of people questioned this pitching staff. Now, I guess if you're just questioning the bullpen, you were right. But I didn't question the starting rotation. I thought the starting rotation was going to be the strength of this team. But at the same time, though, as we've seen, this starting rotation has been as good as you could have hoped, despite all the injuries and everything. So now, how do you keep that sustained? That, and that's why they have to capitalize while Steele is basically not making anything. Man, they got to get a guy in here that can only bolster it even more, and then at the same time find a way to fix this offense. And as much as I want Juan Soto, as much as everyone in this YouTube chat wants Juan Soto, and as much as none of us really don't think it's going to happen,
right.
There are other guys too. It's not like this free agent market isn't
that's right
fruitful this offseason. It's not like last offseason where it was very bleh, we all felt like you had to bring Bellinger back, and then, maybe Chapman, whatever. Like, it was very like, you should be active on the trade market, Jed. That's what I kept saying all offseason, on top of bringing Bellinger back. But to me, like, this is an offseason where you should be. And you went over the luxury tax this year anyway. I mean, that's why I didn't care about all that stuff either. Like, they should go over the luxury tax every year. They should. And I understand the semantics behind it and why it doesn't look good. But, like, yeah, those are my two things going this offseason as we sit here on August 22nd. Like, they need they're going to need another starting pitcher. One, because Hendricks probably ain't coming back anyway. Two, you can't trust the health of these pitchers in this era of baseball. So having more is better than not having enough. And fix the offense somehow, some way. That's all. Those are your things.
The live YouTube chat is the best way to enjoy the CHGO experience. So make sure you subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube page. That's where Craig says it's Soto or bust. And Michael is currently saying Soto gets to pick where he goes. People forget that. Cubs could offer more money than anyone, but Soto gets to decide. The highest offer doesn't win. That's not how free agency works. I hear you, Michael, and I think there is a less than 5% chance that they are getting Juan Soto. But let a man dream. It's only August 22nd. Don't kill the dream just yet.
That guy.
Put the pressure on the Ricketts. Let them see the podcast and all the people talking about Soto and the Soto jerseys they're going to buy and the season ticket plans they're going to buy and the money they're going to go spend on $15 beers at Wrigley Field because they want to go see Soto. They've got to go see Soto. That's what you got to tell them.
He's just playing the role of you very well there.
Don't
Luke.
let him off the hook.
He's that guy's just playing your role really well.
He's 100% right, but I'm at the moment, I'm dreaming.
He's just letting you know, man.
We go back to having someone like Sammy Sosa, juiced up or not, in the lineup. That's what I want.
Yeah, bring back steroids. Then all those warning track fly balls are going to go over if this team starts using steroids.
That's right, James. The chant is going to be at the takeover. When we face the Yankees, I've already said everybody needs to show up in the bleachers that day with a sign that says, "We want Soto." The Ricketts family cannot ignore, and Jed Hoyer, they can't ignore 6,000 people holding up a sign that says, "We want Soto," going, "We want Soto," bump, 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 bump. Every at bat. If you don't think that message gets through, I guarantee it gets through. It'll be played all across the world. People will be showing that. That's what you need to do. That's how you need to rally the troops.
We'll do it at the takeover. We'll have two signs, one that says Anthony Rizzo forever, and then another one that says we want Soto.
Yeah, and the Rizzo one is even probably smaller than the Soto one, but that's okay. Hey, we're going to talk about Isaac Paredes and his struggles in just a bit, and hopefully Ryan Herrera is going to join us in a second as well. But first, want to tell you about our friends at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. They are here to elevate your summer. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. They have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Wherever you are in Illinois, Sunnyside has a location for you. They have spots as far south as Champaign and as far north as South Beloit. Stop in the store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff or select from quality lines like Cresco and FloraCal. Corey Friedman might be there. If you're looking for an expert, he's the guy. Here for the summer is good news. Tea Time disposable vapes, bringing classic lemonade flavor. That's perfect for the golf course because we all need to stay loose on the golf course and on the green. And I know that. I've got golf coming up tomorrow at Cog Hill. And, we're hanging around here, having a good time, going to Friday 120 clubs and takeovers. We got the tailgates coming up. I know that Corey says, listen, when I go to Wrigley Field, and he's a season ticket holder, he stops and he gets Mindy Segal's award-winning chocolates at Sunnyside.
Ooh.
You can too by visiting sunnyside.shop for Bright Buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, Bright Buys every day, only for 21 and older or Illinois medical card holders. Did you want to tell us about Family Farms? Or you want me to tell everybody about Family Farms? Because this is exciting stuff, Cody.
You can go ahead, Luke.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, tell me all about it.
Here's the deal, folks. Their culinary journey is woven with passion, dedication, and a commitment to crafting the finest bacon-wrapped chicken, a timeless delicacy that has tantalized the taste buds since 1974. That means it's almost as old as I am. Join them on this flavorful adventure where every bite tells a story of tradition, quality, and the enduring spirit of Family Farms. The tradition continues. Now you can find Family Farms bacon wrapped chicken even easier. Look for them in the meat department at your local Woodman's, Mariano's, or Burkott's. Craving a taste of home without leaving yours? Check out baconwrappedchicken.com or click the link for their Amazon store, which also includes the legendary Rocky Rococo's Italian sausage, and to find out when their new amazing Cajun Nation flavors will be available with an authentic Louisiana bite. Experience the flavor that's become a family favorite for generations. Visit your nearest Woodman's, Mariano's, Burkott's, or on Amazon, baconwrappedchicken.com.
Do that bacon wrapped
So
chicken.
You had the Cajun stuff, and you didn't stop talking about it for like a week.
Yeah. Well, so the day they came to our office, we had post game late that night. Like the Cubs played a night game. Everyone else was at the office during the day, and the guys who made it, they made an extra batch for us night folks, and so I got it all fresh. Didn't have to fight over it with anyone. Didn't have to fight over it with you. And I'm telling you, that bacon wrapped chicken slaps, bangs, whatever. Like it's so good, man. So
some say it's Riz.
People are saying
it's charismatic bacon wrapped chicken.
We should start a Riz counter for you. Every time you use that term, we should.
One thing it is,
you have to put $1 in the jar every time you use the term Riz.
All I know is it's definitely not sus. That's what the kids tell me.
That Riz and sus off-season jar for Luke Stuckmeyer puts $1 in every. Yes, and then I know we don't carry cash around, but we can start a Venmo for it.
I'm fine with doing that as long as your entrance is the word brother.
Well, you think it's a Hulk Hogan thing?
Whenever you do the Hulk Hogan,
it's not a Hulk Hogan thing. I know, like that's what a lot of people think, but it's literally just a thing me and my friends do. So, like, and it just kind of caught on.
Okay, brother.
It's fine. Like, anyway,
your shirt ripped apart, and you're always walking around the newsroom saying, "Look at me, brother." What has been sus so far is the way Isaac Paredes has been at the plate. 149 is what he's batting as a Cub. Before the game, he told Jesse Rogers, "I don't feel good. I feel lost out there." Now, for those of you that are mad that it was Christopher Morel that was traded, just remember that he's hitting 147 for the Rays. So he's 2 points worse than Paredes has been for the Cubs. Neither team has made out like a bandit early on in this deal. Sarah has a graphic. Ryan got a quote from Craig Counsell before the game today talking about Paredes' struggles at the plate. He says he just hasn't gotten on track offensively. There's no question about it. He'd tell you the same thing. We're certainly taking note of it, and he's working his tail off to fix it. He's a quiet kind of competitor, but he's a really hardworking kid, and he cares a lot. It's hard to see it sometimes, and so this is frustrating for him. There's no question that this hurts him to not be playing well, but he will get there. We will get there. We will help him get back on track. We got to help him do it. That's our job, is to help him do it. Well, he's right about that part of it. Like,
yeah,
that's what he's getting paid the big bucks for, and that's part of it. They've got to find a way to get him back to being the type of player that they needed to go get at the trade deadline. That looked like, okay, they've locked up third base. It's just been his return to the Cubs has been a struggle. What did he go again today? Was he 0 for again today?
0 for again. And there was one at bat. I think he swung first or second pitch, hit a pop up on the third base side, like just an uncompetitive at bat.
Yeah, 0 for 4.
He had a lazy pop up, like flare, hit the second, I believe, as well. It was actually weird, like to see him in the 2-hole today. You know, Bush has been there, and I know Bush has kind of been struggling of late too. So, you know, maybe it was more so for Bush than it was Paredes. Maybe they're trying to get him more bats just because they're trying to help him. I don't know. But I'll say this. He's had one good week with the Cubs against the Twins and the White Sox. He had a huge 3-run homer against the Twins to help them win that series. He played well against the White Sox. I know it's the White Sox, but whatever. So outside of that week, though, yeah, it's been kind of tough to watch. And he's even had a few errors in the field that haven't helped. And listen, this is what I'll say about Paredes is that if we're still talking about Paredes struggling on offense in June, at the beginning of June next year, that's when I will start looking back at this trade. So we've talked a ton about the trade. So and everyone knows my thoughts about the trade at this point. So I'm just going to I'm going to push that to the side regarding today's conversation. That said, in the present, with him struggling right now, like, yeah, he's got to find a way to hit better than 149, 150, whatever it is. He just simply has to be better, right? Like that's just what it is. And I think right now, what's a little alarming to me is that the concerns that a lot of fans had, which was the fact that his hard hit rate's not great. He's straight pull hitter, all these things. He's hit some balls hard, but into gloves in left field, right? I'm acknowledging the fact that some of the concerns that a lot of fans had, some of those things we have seen since the trade happened, right? I have seen some strikeouts though too, and his K rate is around 16% before coming to the Cubs. I don't know what his K rate is with the Cubs. And another thing too, he was struggling in July with the Rays before coming here, so he's just been struggling since beginning of July overall. So it's been a deep slump for him, and I am, at least in the moment, I would say that I am a little concerned just because it's just been a lot longer than just like a week. I think when people were freaking out because Morel hit 2 home runs in his first 2 games or whatever for the Rays, and Paredes had gone like 0 for 4 for 2 straight games or whatever it was, and people freaking out about that, I think that's stupid. But now that we've seen a little bit of a sample size, I understand it, and I am a little concerned, but I'm not like we need to trade him this offseason mode or anything like that, or we need to DFA him, because that's even worse than if we look back at the trade and it looks bad. Like, they're gonna go into next year with Paredes at third base, and if they don't, then they either traded him and somehow upgraded, or some crazy shit happens that I can't even like comprehend on what happened. Like, it would be something that no one saw coming, right? Or maybe an injury, which would be even worse. So yeah, I mean, I am a little concerned just because some of the things that a lot of fans had concerns about, we are seeing. I'm acknowledging that. And so, yeah, this last month and a week or so for him is really important. And honestly, the team was playing well that week that that good week he had. They won that series against the Twins, and then they swept the White Sox. Like, their offense looked great that week, and it was largely because him and Cody Bellinger were hitting. So, and lately the offense has looked kind of bleh, and it's because he's not hitting, and no one else is really hitting as well, except for today. The offense did hit today. You scored 10 runs, but it's not on any kind of consistent basis. I felt like once he came to the Cubs, they started winning. They started winning games, and you were getting a little bit more consistency in the lineup. But that was just because at first it felt like it was his presence, but I felt like his at bats were giving them they were better than what you were getting out of Morel at first. And now some other guys are cooled off too, and because he's not hitting, it's showing all across the lineup. So yeah, if there's going to be any success for this team, or at least minor upgrade success, like, he's got to obviously hit better. And so, like, I don't know how he's going to, like, how they get him there. Like, that's the thing. And that's only because I just haven't seen enough to know, like, what brings him success other than, okay, the spray chart says he just mainly pulls the ball. Okay, well,
except for with 2 strikes when he likes to go to the opposite way. And that has been one of the things he's done well. Let's just give it some time. Like, we know he's not a perfect player. Morel wasn't a perfect player. And just like there's a possibility when you make a trade that both teams, some people are like, that's a win-win. Both teams are going to win on this. Or, we're always joking on social media, Cubs won the trade, Cubs lost the trade. No matter what Paredes does or anytime Morel does anything.
You're talking about me?
Yeah, you. And I enjoy that. But it is also possible. The other possibility is that both teams just will get nothing out of this trade. It won't really be a big deal when it's all said and done. And that's possible too. But let's remember that a lot of pressure comes with guys being traded at the trade deadline when they go to a new team. Like, I do know what you're saying. Paredes was struggling even before he got to the Cubs with the Rays. And to some degree, obviously, so was Morel. But guys squeeze the bat a little bit harder. You try to do a little bit more. And the more you struggle, the harder it gets. And the snowball continues to roll downhill. That's why a lot of midseason trades for position players, a lot of times they don't have the impact teams are hoping to have, because guys are trying to do a little too much. Now, it's different when you're trading for a guy that's like a superstar, but when there's pressure on a player to, in this case, come back to his original franchise and show what he can do, and he's had success, and they're in a quote unquote hunt for a playoff spot, there's pressure with that. And it's been building on him, and you can kind of see that it's starting just based on his quote. You can tell that he's really bothered by it. So I'm not surprised. Give it time to turn around and see what happens next year before we write him off as the third baseman for a couple years.
I would honestly like to see them give him a few days off. And they tried to on Sunday either.
Yeah.
They tried to on Sunday, and then he got a pinch hit at bat. And I understood the situation there. Honestly, it didn't make any. I understood the situation, but it didn't necessarily make sense considering they sat him because of shoulder soreness. And Corey and Brendan talked a little bit about that on their show Sunday, and just, the continuous questions with how this organization manages injuries and stuff, just more of that jazz. But yeah, I mean, it's almost like he could just use a few days. And the problem with that, though, is that they don't have, except for Bodie, I guess, if you wanted to play Bodie for three or four consecutive days, like, I'm not against it, fine, but like your offense is going, your offensive look, at least, like the fear in the lineup, not that there's much fear in this lineup anyway, but like you're let's just be honest, like it's a big drop in terms of what you're regularly starting at third base compared to what's on your bench. And like, that's why, to me, it's like, why not, maybe be a little aggressive with a guy like Matt Shaw, but whatever. I don't think they're going to call him up, but that's been the story of the season. They're going slow with development. So they could call up Master Boney or someone like.
I knew it was coming.
He was good. He was good for like 2 week stretch.
Put $1 in the Soto jar. We said it, Master Boney.
He played some solid defense at third base. We all acknowledge that, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, if it's not Bodie, then like Master Boney would be the next one that's realistic. Yeah, I mean, that's the only reason I think that they haven't really given him full days, like a couple of days of rest. It's like, because they still believe that they can get in somehow, some way, I guess. And after you sit him with who's currently on the active roster, it's like Wisdom or Bodie. And I guess I'd go with Wisdom, but he's also a liability defensively as well. Bodie's at least better defensively, I think, but I don't know what you're going to get out of him on offense. He has been better against left-handed pitching. If you get some lefties coming up in the next couple of days, like, maybe you could do it then, but yeah, it's a tough situation when you don't really have depth at third base, really.
What about
like good depth, I guess you could say.
Should we talk about Jason Hayward being DFA'd by the Dodgers, or should we talk about Hector Neris being signed by the Astros?
Well, do you want to give me credit? We can talk about Neris. Do you want to give me credit
for Hector Neris?
Yeah, remember what I said?
You were the first to say it. Like, someone like the Astros will pick him up. I do remember that very clearly.
I'm not, again, I think they will use him in like a middle relief role, maybe not 7th or 8th inning, and I think he's going to have to earn some high leverage spots. So they'll probably
use him in a postseason game and make a difference.
Yes, I truly believe that it will happen. That's the next thing. He will now pitch in a postseason game,
right?
And he will somehow, some way, give them a good inning or two.
Yeah, and that's when you'll
in
have
the
to pour
process.
out a blue moon. You'll just have to pour one on the floor.
What?
Ruin your carpet.
It's like I said. They signed him to be a middle reliever, not the closer. That's what they signed him for. And so if I end up being wrong on this, like if he makes a playoff roster and he sucks in the playoffs, or even if he doesn't even make it to the playoff roster with Houston, and they release him in a couple weeks or something, even if that happens, if I'm wrong about it, then it basically is detriment on Jed Hoyer for even giving him the opportunity to begin with. I guess it's hard to tell considering he's a traveled reliever who's had a lot of success as a middle reliever over the course of time, but a lot of teams just know, so I think Houston picked him up just because he's familiar with their pitching coaches and all of those things. And they probably feel like they know how they can get him back to what they know. And it will not shock me if he somehow is pitching in the 8th inning for the Astros in a 1-run game, inevitably. It is what it is. So, yeah.
What about what do you think of Hayward being DFA'd? I think he was villainized, and I don't love the whole people. I think he was treated unfairly. Did he play great as a member of the Cubs? No.
Oh, you're talking about the Cubs.
Yeah, well, with the Cubs, he was disappointing, but I don't know why people don't like him because of that.
Well,
he didn't live up to the contract. Got it.
He took a significant step back this year. Last year, he was a 2.2 Fangraphs WAR for the Dodgers, hit like 15 homers, and he had 5 defensive runs saved. And I think they mainly used him against right-handed pitching, and that's it. And you could see the change of scenery really helped him. This year, he looked more like what he looked like with the Cubs in 2021. He was hitting 208, on base percentage below 300, slugging below 400, has 6 homers. He did just hit a pinch hit homer a couple days ago though for them. That's why I think I was a little surprised that they DFA.
So you're hoping that the Cubs pick him up so that they can have him play right field?
I didn't say that.
Oh,
no,
okay.
I did not say that. But when I looked at the overall numbers after remembering that I saw that he had hit a pinch hit homer for the Dodgers, and then I went and saw the numbers, I was like, okay, I guess this makes some sense, because they had to choose between him or Kevin Kiermaier, and they chose Kevin Kiermaier over him. And he has a 91 WRC plus this year. He's 34, 35. They're both basically at the same parts of their career. I hope a team picks him up, and I'm always going to root for success for the guy, because he was always a good dude.
Still is. Does a lot of good stuff in Chicago still today.
We in general agree on the whole the Hayward thing, and it's always going to be about the fact that he just didn't perform offensively well enough for them and stuff. And I think you can argue if he had played up to the contract for, what was it, a 7-year deal, 8-year deal, whatever, if he had played up to the contract for at least 5 or 6 years of that, then they probably don't ever enter this second rebuild in 10 years. In my opinion, because they couldn't develop anyone. They couldn't develop position players on top of the fact that they couldn't develop any.
That's the part.
Pitching, They knew what they were going to get out of him in those after, even after the first couple years. And, that's why we sit here and we still ask, why didn't we get Bryce Harper? If Jason Hayward was performing like they hoped he would, we probably wouldn't be talking about why they didn't get Bryce Harper. You know what I mean?
Should have been able to do both.
Well, the thing that makes it hard is there was no DH, and Jason Hayward plays Gold Glove right field. And I mean, I know Harper plays first base now, but at the time when he was a free agent, he was an outfielder. So, I mean, and you still had Schwarber at the time. And, I don't know if Harper could have played center. Center field was a big question. I guess you could have moved Hayward over to center. Maybe you move on from Almora, or you move on from Almora and Happ right away, move them for pieces. I don't know. The universe is so much different, right? If they actually had signed Harper, right? But, and I'm not saying that Jason Hayward should have been the reason that blocked him, or blocked the move. But what I'm saying is if he did perform like we had hoped he would have, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about Bryce Harper probably nearly as much, So, Yeah, I mean, I guess I was just surprised just because I hadn't looked at his numbers all season, and then I looked at him and I was like, oh, okay, this actually kind of makes some sense. So
Ryan is ready to join us from beautiful historic Wrigley Field. There he is.
Well, I was getting afraid Cody was going to go for the last 10 minutes talking about Hayward.
Well, we just started our Hayward conversation. You could have just next time.
I'm not going to talk the next 10 minutes. I'll sit here and be quiet for 10 minutes.
I saw the notes coming in our private chat. Next time, just have Sarah jump in.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're on the show. Just you don't need to be acknowledged to come in. Just shove our screens aside, and Ryan joins the show. Unless you want walk-in music. Do you want walk-in music?
That would be cool.
Maybe we should get a graphic together with a little walk-in music. We could get Big Dave to, do
all
some lyrics.
Like
all city, like Little
like
Counts
Ryan.
or whatever, like.
I think Cody was becoming Little Counts.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, definitely. No question about that.
No, I'm just a Jed Hoyer detractor. I said that. I'm a Jed Hoyer detractor. That's what I am.
Ryan, what was the main focus of Craig Counsell? First of all, how long did he talk? And then
over under a minute 30
on Amaya, or was he more focused on Justin Steele?
I think it was both. Like obviously Steele as a starting pitcher, asked about Steele to begin with, but after a little bit, shifted to Miguel Amaya and what obviously today 3 for 4, second career 3-hit game, first grand slam, probably the best he's looked at the plate in a single game in his big league career. Obviously acknowledging that, but Craig Counsell talking about just what he's done. It was like, early July, he got that little break, ditched the leg kick in his swing and went to more of like a heel move, like less of a stride, just more of just getting the foot down early and going versus the leg kick. And you've seen the results from that. I think since that happened, since July 7th, it's like a 848 OPS. He's hitting 299, like 4 doubles, 4 homers. Like he's had a really good offensive stretch, and like it is only 27 games. It was like 85 plate appearances versus like 190, I think it was the first 3 months of the season for him. So it's not by any means like he's completely figured it out. He's on the fast track to whatever. It's like he's going to continue to have to keep working at it and being consistent with it. But you're seeing a lot of good stuff from Miguel Amaya for the most part behind the plate, at the plate, obviously behind the plate. I think everyone's always talked about how good he is at some of those soft backers, game calling, stuff like that. But offense is where he got a lot of criticism for the first 3 months of the year. And over the last month and a half or so, he's definitely picked it back up. The coaches acknowledge it. Craig Counsell, again, post-game was kind of praising him for making that midseason adjustment when that's hard. It's hard to begin with for a hitter to make a midseason adjustment. But then when you have a catcher who a lot of his focus is on the pitching staff and, the starting pitcher, the bullpen, whatever, there's a lot that goes into it. So he obviously credited Miguel for making that change, with being willing to make that change, sticking with it. And, you're seeing the result of the last 27 games. It's been a really good stretch for him.
You guys help me out with this. Like, of the young players, how many of them do we see making positive progress the last 2 months? Like, if you're looking for a silver lining to think, PCA has definitely made progress, right? I think we've seen Amaya take a step forward and make progress. Porter Hodge has taken a step and made progress. Who else am I missing on there? And then is there somebody you could think of specifically, a young player where you could say, they've taken a step back the last 2 months outside of injuries? Because that's not,
I was going to say,
I don't think that's really fair. A lot of guys are taking steps back because of injury. But I don't know if there's really been a young player where you can say, oh, yeah, all of a sudden it's not happening. Right? I think the one positive thing you can say about this team is when you look at, if you're looking for a silver lining moving forward, it's that some of the young guys that you want to count on next season and beyond are starting to make progress. Now, maybe you could say Ballesteros struggling a little bit at the plate at Iowa, or But again, it's a smaller sample size. I think the guys that you've seen at the majors, that is one good thing. We talk about developing players. That's all we say. Develop your own guys, develop your young players. Now, it may have taken 3/4 of a season for it to happen, but I will admit that I am starting to see progress in at least PCA and Amaya.
Yeah, and I think like when it was earlier in the season and those guys were getting a lot of credit, like especially Amaya, and like not that it was wrong to criticize him, he was not hitting very well. I think he had like a 45 WRC plus after July 3rd. Like he had a 45 WRC plus. It was not going well for him offensively. We also think about the fact that he's still 25 years old. He missed a lot of time with injury, so a lot of development time in the minor leagues. And now because he got called up so quickly last year when they needed him, a lot of that development is coming at the big league level. So it was like, again, the criticism wasn't unwarranted because the results weren't great. But I think a lot of people lost the context of that, and that it was going to take time for him to continue to develop and make adjustments at the big league level because he did miss so much time in the minor leagues and did come up pretty fast. Same with PCA. He's 22. Guys his age, a lot of them could still be playing college baseball right now. So he was another guy that I think when he came up, we kind of all said, like, as long as he's playing really good defense and running the bases well, like you'll live with the offense. And now, like you pointed out, Luke, since like that Kansas City Royals series, the series of Kansas City, he's turned it around himself, and he's putting up a lot better numbers, underlying numbers, results wise. Like you said, those two guys. But I think the Cubs are going to count on to be big contributors next season. You are seeing a lot of progress from those guys, the kind of progress that you knew was going to take some time, but that you needed to see this year.
We do want to tell you guys about something that's exciting that's been happening to us. First of all, we're on the Roku channel now. Like if it wasn't good enough that we were on YouTube and available to you on podcasts, whether it's Apple or Spotify or wherever you want to go, now we're on Roku. So for those of you that have maybe some parents or relatives that are a little bit older, go ahead, show them how to use the Roku stick. You can watch us live. Shows will be live, and 24/7, you could see CHGO. All you have to do is search CHGO Sports, and that's where you're going to find us. So that part is really cool information. It's a big advancement for our company. It brought some changes, but that's why we do this. Like we're trying to get this spread, the news spread that we're out there to more and more people. And now that's a way to do it. Now, the other way you can tell your friends about us is, of course, the diehard program. If you're not a CHGO diehard yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Tomorrow, I will play in the CHGO Kickoff Classic for the second straight year. A lot of people are waiting to see my swing because it's been compared to like Mark Grace on a baseball field, smooth, flawless, the pure swing, the way it's supposed to look. And so people have been looking forward to this. But if you're a diehard and you signed up for this, you're getting 20% off playing at Cog Hill tomorrow with us. By the way, it's sold out. You can't do it now because signups happen. It's loaded. We got to scramble. Everybody's playing. It's going to include lunch. We're going to have a good time, and you'll see all the pictures on social media. But diehards, 20% off all of our activities. You get 20% off any of the takeovers we do. So when we go to sell the tickets for the Rizzo game, Rizzo returns, which is now sounding a little more likely, 20% off that. 20% off all the dope merch. Anybody got merch on today? Here it is. Meatball Island. Meatball Island.
My merch is all dirty. That's why I don't have any on.
Not a company man like we are, but he did start
that's okay. That's slander. That's unneeded. Okay, that's unneeded slander. You've been taking shots at me all week about being as delusional as ever about this team, and now you're telling me that I'm not a company man. I wear our gear all the time.
And you have a diehard membership, and you're in the Discord, and you have access to Ryan's newsletter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That comes.
I got access to everything. I run this shit. Now,
do you have the actual diehard card? I was never given one.
I just know
that when people have one, it's sort of like driving around in one of those new Teslas that looks like a tank. That thing. It's like everybody turns and looks. There it is. Ryan's got it. Ryan, don't show the number.
I legitimately care.
You don't want people to copy that.
Yeah.
You don't want.
Don't worry, I didn't show the bag of it.
Don't show the diehard card. You don't want hackers out there stealing your information. Listen, we got to be careful. They're stealing social security numbers. You don't want them stealing your diehard card because there's few things more valuable than the diehard card right now, and that comes with the diehard membership. So make sure you go and get one of those. AllCHGO.com, 20% off all the merch, which all new football stuff coming out. Cody did have on the Shota one yesterday.
I did.
Showtime.
So
Does he pitch tomorrow?
Way you can support us.
He pitched tomorrow.
I'm not sure, honestly.
Okay.
I don't think we got the.
He pitched on Sunday, so.
Oh yeah, well I saw it. Pitching this next series. Shota pitches. It's Hendricks, Shota, and Assad.
Okay.
Assad. Hendricks is starting the first game against the Marlins.
Okay. Well,
and they got to win all three of them, according to Cody. Correct? We're at the critical phase now. Hendricks must win. You must get another epic performance from the. Can I say what we need? Get him out after 4. Let him throw 4 great innings. How many teams have we seen do a bullpen day now? You have the best bullpen in baseball over the last 2 months. Let Hendricks give you 4 solid innings and then
he's gone 4 perfect. What if he's gone 4 perfect innings?
You just want.
Yeah, why go to the bullpen before you need to? I'm not going to get back into it.
Because if you go too late, he's going to give up 2 home runs.
Of all of the arguments that you make, Luke, this is definitely one that I don't agree with. This is definitely
the numbers in Stucky stats back my information.
You do realize that you use this argument on a day where the Cubs lost 2-0 and he pitched 6 innings and allowed 2 runs. Mm-hmm. And they scored 0 runs that day. You've made the same argument on this.
I also made that argument when it was scoreless against, I believe, the Royals, and I said, get him out. And 2 minutes later, it was 6-0.
Yeah, but
so you're 50-50.
But
you're 50-50 on your.
If you want to go back in the show logs, I did it his last 4 starts, and I said, right now, he would have given up 1 run in his last 20 innings if you took him out after 4 innings.
The flaw in your thinking, though, Luke, is that when he actually is pitching like what we've grown to see Kyle Hendricks over the course of our lives, why would you take him out any earlier whenever he's pitching well? Because I get it. The game against the Royals, he was not good. He gave up a ton of runs that game.
I don't think you can limit to the 4th inning. I think the argument's better if you're saying get him out before you hit the top of the order for the 3rd time.
Which is that's basically what I've said. And if you remember last time around, basically what I said was it's not the fact that they didn't get him out after 4. It's that they let him start the 5th and nobody's warming up yet. Have somebody loose and ready to go, because if somebody gets on base, you don't want a 2-run homer. No matter how many runs you're up, you don't want a 2-run homer.
Yeah.
Listen, we'll see what happens.
Fair enough.
Yeah. See if they've
4 innings is
if they've watched the podcast.
4
innings. They got Roku.
Not
I
enough.
guarantee the Cubs have Roku.
Considering where this team is at with these injuries, they need Hendricks to go into the 5th inning. That's just the fact of the matter. Me and my 2% chance, it matters. Okay.
What is it at now? 2.7.
What was 2.6? 2.6 before the game. Did this raise it to 2.7?
Maybe, probably.
Well, if the Braves lose tonight, perhaps it will go up to 3. Yeah.
James Colstock says 2.4.
2.4%er?
Dropped just because another day passed. I don't know. Any other nuggets we got to hit real quick before we go?
I did Justin Steele. He's actually mentioned it before, but asked about Miguel Amaya. That he has always kind of felt like this was in Amaya. Amaya had the hitter that he's been for the last 27 games. He's had that in him, because he always brings up the ALLCITY. They were both at the ALLCITY together in 2020. And he will say that and he said it again today, that he was, to him, one of the most dangerous at bats at the ALLCITY. And Amaya is a 21-year-old at this point in his life, right? And then in his big league or his minor league career, obviously. And so he asked Amaya, someone brings it up to Amaya post game, Steele has brought up the fact that, he thought you were one of the most dangerous at bats at the ALLCITY in 2020. And he's like, I don't know if he said it, but I did go deep off him. I thought it was just a funny little nugget there from Amaya. Just like, and when that's the story, but like you think about what you heard about Miguel Amaya when he was coming up in the minor leagues prior to the injuries, like he was considered a good hitter in the minor leagues. Like it was considered a pretty solid two-way player. I don't know if he was ever going to be a star, but he was considered a pretty solid hitter. So I think when we saw the struggles earlier this year, it was another reason that like this guy wasn't considered a good hitter coming up to the minor leagues for no reason. Like I think it was always kind of like give him time. He has the kind of skills, the kind of tools that maybe he can find his way out of this long extended cold spell. And just as he's adjusting to the big league level, developing at the big league level. And again, I think that's what we've seen now for the last 27 games from him.
All right. Sounds good. So no podcast tomorrow because of the Kickoff Classic. Are you guys going to be there? Are you going to the golf course? Are you going to at least ride around in a cart and support me?
No.
In my bid to be the next
I'm not going to
golfer?
support you. No.
Oh, that's mean.
Wow. No support.
I went to the last one.
No support. And you mocked.
Did you win the last one?
It was mocking.
I did go to the last golf outing all the way out in Carroll Stream, I think it was.
I don't remember what town that is. And Hickory, no, not Hickory Hills. That was the takeover. Anyways, it was way out there.
They got a sweep this weekend to go 5-1 on the week.
Brendan and Corey have the pot on Sunday.
And hopefully the Braves lose a couple. That's where we're at. I hope they lose tomorrow so I can wave the flag.
Look at that.
I said that yesterday. I'm saying it again.
I might as well.
Yeah, tomorrow's the day that will probably
lost.
Yeah, like I'm just.
Cody's a negative hoper right now.
Meanwhile, you're already there. Like you're waiting for him.
I'm not negative. I'm a real.
Let me say this.
No. I'm just like you're waiting for him to catch up to you at this point.
I'm with the other 98%.
Let me say this. I've held on this long mostly just in case if they actually did make a run and I could say that I never left. But I genuinely feel like they have to go 5-1 this week. No worse.
All right, you're 2-1.
Unless the Braves get swept this weekend of some sorts or something like that, and you win the series, you still make some ground. But I think you got to go into next week at 3 games back or less, or at least maintain pace and get over 500. If they sweep the series, they'll be over 500 when we do our show on Monday.
Right.
So, like, if they don't, then I guess they'd be at 500.
You think about it and get back to us on Monday.
Again, I hope they lose tomorrow so I can wave the flag.
Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. Brendan and Corey have the next one coming up on Sunday after the game and after the series with the Marlins. Until then, thanks for watching. And as always, fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.